A few years ago, I felt completely lost. So in 2000, I was born in the Netherlands, which is a small little country in Europe, and I grew up playing soccer pretty much every single day, or as they call it there, football. Football in Europe is absolutely massive, so I grew up playing it before school, during school, after school. I was quite literally obsessed with it. I was even watching all of the games. I was analyzing everything. It was literally my obsession. And then at the age of 11, my family and I decided to move to Canada, which is the biggest country in the world, and I continued on playing the sport. And I worked really hard throughout my childhood and teenage years, which eventually landed me a scholarship to actually play soccer, which was one of my childhood dreams, and it was absolutely amazing. I pretty much moved out at 17. I was living on my own on campus, and yeah, I was pretty much playing soccer, which was, again, one of my biggest childhood dreams. But beyond that, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life, because I had this big obsession with becoming a pro soccer player. But obviously being a pro athlete is very difficult, and a lot of luck is involved, and a lot of skill and hard work and effort and all this stuff. And so I did have to obviously pick something to study while I had my soccer scholarship, and I landed on studying economics. I have no reason for wanting to choose this. My dad did study economics when he went to university, so I'm like, okay, this kind of resonates with me. Let me just pick this. Although I'm not a big math person, I didn't really care for economics. I just randomly landed on something because I knew I had to pick something as I was playing soccer. But now what I noticed is that every single time that I left the soccer field, whether it was after practice or after one of the games, I got sent back home, back to campus, and I felt really lonely and depressed, because I'm like, the only reason I'm really here is to play soccer. And then now that I'm not playing soccer here, what am I doing? Soccer was quite literally my escape from reality, and I'm sure you guys watching this probably have your own escape, whether it's playing a sports, meditating, playing video games, calling one of your friends, whatever it may be. We all kind of have this escape from reality. And when the season got canceled during COVID in 2020, I basically got sent back home from Alberta, Edmonton, back home to Vancouver, and I was left with a sense of emptiness, because I'm like, I've worked pretty much all of my entire life for this, but then now that the season got canceled, I literally couldn't play soccer anymore. Not only that, I got sent back home and I had to do school online now. And I kind of fell in like this rut where I've never really felt depressed before, but I would say this is probably the closest that I've been to actually feeling that way, because I just felt so lost. I'm like, what do I do? And I fell inside of a really big rut. So my physique wasn't really the way that I wanted it to be. But what I realized is that this setback was actually a small little blessing in disguise. And I'm going to explain that to you guys in this video. So throughout my teenage years, one thing that I did not really mention was that I was also obsessed with my own personal health and fitness. I started exercising and working out at the age of 13, 14. I started doing like some workouts in my room from 𝗪𝗁 from Six Pack Shortcuts. This was back in 2013. I'm not sure if this guy's around anymore. I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard of him before, but he was like this big fitness guru who was doing like 5-minute ab workout blasters, 6-minute home workouts. And I would literally, I remember this so vividly. I had this big desktop in my room in the basement, and I would pretty much just go on YouTube every single day after school during the summer, and I will put it on full screen and I just follow along with one of his workouts. I even got my dad to buy me a pair of adjustable dumbbells. I'm like, Dad, please, can you give me some dumbbells? He bought me some dumbbells, and I was just so excited that every single day after school, I'd click on 𝗪𝗁's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, dumbbell workouts, home body workouts, and I would just do it every single day after school. I saw no results, but I was just so excited of doing it, and then I eventually kind of fell off track because I wasn't seeing results, I wasn't staying consistent. But that's basically my introduction into fitness, and then slowly but surely I started to kind of pick up on eating a bit healthier. I started tracking my food, and then I kind of like started to like live this healthy fitness lifestyle, while of course playing soccer as well. So they both kind of complemented one another. I got into better shape to pretty much become a better athlete for soccer. And so I started going to the gym every single day at around the age of 15 or 16. But when soccer was no longer an option for me, the gym almost became my sanctuary. So I kind of realized at the time during COVID that, okay, the season got canceled. There's no way for me to really play anymore. And I was 20 years old at the time, and I'm like, okay, well, my goal of actually becoming a pro soccer player, it's unfortunately not going to happen. But because I was so obsessed with the gym and working out and exercising, I started to notice that my love and passion for soccer started to kind of fade. But then my love and passion for health and fitness and working out and all this stuff actually started to increase as well. And I think a lot of athletes go through this stage where they use the gym to get better at a certain sport, but then they start to slowly but surely fall out of love with the sports that they initially started playing. I actually started to fall in love more with like the progress and the process of like going into the gym and eating healthy and all this stuff, right? So that's exactly what I kind of went through myself, because it was also like the only place that I could really rely on at the time, because whether it was COVID times, whether it was lockdown, whether it was whatever was happening, the gym was always there. Funnily enough, during lockdown, when the first COVID phase happened, I actually spent most of my money and I bought all the equipment that I needed for like a home gym. So I bought like barbells, dumbbells, I bought like this big squat rack, I bought a bench, some gym mats, and I put it on my basement. And basically every single day, and actually documented this on my YouTube channel, you guys can scroll all the way back down to 2020. I actually made like vlogs and stuff. I was pretty much working out every single day. And so when everything else was falling apart, the gym was the one thing that I could really rely on, right? And so I decided to go all in while still juggling online classes, because I didn't just quit school. I was still doing school from home, but then online, while also working 2 jobs because I obviously needed to make money at the time as well. And then during this time, I also took my social media a lot more seriously, and I finally invested into a course to become a certified personal trainer, which, as you guys can tell by the smile on my face, was a really happy moment for me. For the first time in my life, I actually was excited to learn something that I was actually passionate about, right? Because all throughout high school, I was studying all these random classes. I took law class, I took math, I took pre-calculus, I took science classes, chemistry, biology, all this stuff. But honestly, and I think a lot of people in high school, like, you don't really care, right? You don't do it because you're passionate about it. You do it because you kind of have to do it. And then when you graduate, when you go to university or college, you hopefully pick a major or a degree that you actually want to study, which is something that I didn't do. So even when I did go to university, I wasn't really studying I was passionate about. Economics, wasn't really passionate about that. So for the first time ever, I was like, wow, I'm so excited to actually learn about exercise science and nutrition and food and macros and calories and all this amazing stuff, which I now obviously do full time, right? Once I got my certificate, I started training people in person at one of my local gyms, which was amazing. And then I slowly but surely transitioned into doing online coaching. This is also the time when I actually moved countries to pursue my dreams. And so this was during 2022, and a quick little side tangent here. I was doing classes online. I didn't really have any aspirations of moving countries, although I was fully aware of this gym called Alphaland, which is this big influencer type of gym down in Houston, Texas. And obviously me living in Canada, it was a 40-hour drive. I'm like, okay, that's a pretty long drive and I cannot just randomly go there. But I woke up this one morning in 2022 during my winter semester, and I was going to log in, do my classes, and I noticed that I got kicked out of all of my classes. I was like, what is going on? Is this April Fool's or something? Like, why am I kicked out of all my classes? And I got sent this email by the dean of my university, and he said something along the lines of, due to you not showing proof of vaccination, you are kicked out of all your classes. And so essentially for me to continue on with taking online classes, I had to show proof of vaccination, and I did not get vaccinated. And there was this really big thing at the time in Canada, I'm not sure if it still is now, where you pretty much needed the jab in order to do anything in life. I know it's a really sensitive, touchy subject, but I personally did not feel comfortable putting something into my body that I wasn't really sure how I was going to react to it or anything like that. And I pretty much stood by my morals. I'm like, okay, this is weird. And so I kind of used this as an opportunity for me to take a break from the semester, take a break from school. I'm like, okay, well, what am I going to do now? So I talked to my parents about it. I'm like, what should I do? And both my mom and my dad, they knew how passionate I was about fitness, right? They knew everything about what I was doing when it came to like my social media, on my Instagram, my YouTube. They knew how obsessed I was with this. And they were like, they actually encouraged me to like, Conan, like, we think that you should actually just buy a car and just drive across the border. I mean, it was actually my idea, but they were really like, yeah, you should do it. And I was really surprised because I'm like, as parents, like, don't you guys want like security and want me to like stay here, all this stuff? They're like, no, like you do your thing. You follow your passion, you follow your dream. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. So I cannot thank them enough for just not stopping me from actually pursuing this. And so what I did right away is, with all the money that I saved up from those 2 jobs that I was working, I bought my car. It was around $6-7 grand. I still have it to this day. I got it used, and then I pretty much packed up all of my stuff and I drove 40 hours from Vancouver, Canada, all the way down to Houston, Texas. It was 40 hours in total, and I made like this big road trip out of it, which again I documented all over my social media. Went down to Seattle at first, stayed there for a bit, and then Oregon, and then I went to LA, California for a bit, stayed there for around 2 weeks just to explore the city and stuff, and then I went down to Arizona, New Mexico, and then I eventually landed down in Houston, Houston, Texas. So it was more of a longer, it took me like a month in total, but total 40 hours. And then I finally got to my final destination. I got to visit Alphaland, which is like one of my biggest dreams. I got to see all my favorite fitness influencers. I saw Christian Guzman, who is the owner of that gym, and all the other people associated with him. And now, unfortunately, I got there, which was amazing, but I wasn't really making any money. I quit my 2 jobs, obviously. I wasn't really making any money remotely at the time, and I was just kind of like living off my savings at the time. So I'm like, okay, this is cool now, like being in this environment, but now I actually need to figure out a way making money. What I did was I actually rented out a room, stayed with this super nice person. It was kind of sketchy at first, but thankfully everything turned out really, really well. But I really seriously needed to make money at the time, because I'm like, I cannot just be here, live like this, and then not make any money, because I'm eventually going to have to go back home, right? And I knew in the back of my mind that I could always go back home and do the school, but I'm like, I don't want to get the vaccine, I don't want to get jabbed, and I don't want to go back to school because I hated studying economics. I really didn't want to do it. I wanted to do everything in my power to not go back. So I was like, I have to figure this out, or else I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. What I did is I hired my first ever mentor, and he basically taught me on how I could use all the knowledge and skills that I had and that I had accumulated from training my clients in person with my certified personal training certificate, and transition it into doing online coaching. And this was brand new to me. I did have a pretty big social media following, but I didn't really know how to monetize it or actually get clients online. So my first ever mentor kind of taught me on how to start my own business pretty much. I'm really, really grateful for that person. I'm still in touch with him during this time as well. And then from there, I started getting my first couple of clients online. I started making some decent amount of money. I'm like, okay, this is great. I get to live here down in Houston. I get to go to the gym every single day, make all these cool videos, and actually like do this sustainably, right? While still earning an income, which complements what I actually enjoy doing. And then from there, I kept making more and more investments into pretty much my business, because my first ever mentor, I'm super grateful for him, but he definitely could not get me to the next level, because he got me to level 1, but then if I want to get to level 2, he wasn't going to be the right person for me to actually do that, right? And so then I invested into my next mentor, right, who got me from where I was then to where I wanted to end up. And then I invested into another mentor who was a lot more expensive too, but then I actually leveled up a lot more as well, right? So I've worked in total with 5 different mentors, each helping me in specific areas of my life. And now every time I made a big investment, because every time I invested, it was a huge investment, right? The first time that I invested, my first ever mentor, I pretty much spent most of my money on this person. I'm like, okay, well, this better work, because if it doesn't, I'm going to be stuck here. I'd have to drive 40 hours all the way back and then do my stupid school again, which again, I did not want to do. And so every single time I made that big investment, like I had doubts whether it was going to work or not, right? Because unfortunately, nothing in life is guaranteed. Even if you do go to school and you have a degree or a certificate, it's like you're not guaranteed to get a job from that, right? So you're actually going to have to use that and actually start applying to jobs and put yourself out there, right? So nothing in life is guaranteed. I come from this scarcity mindset where like I didn't really know what mentors were. I didn't know what masterminds were. I'm like, is this a scam? Because a lot of people associate the word mastermind or mentor with scam, because unfortunately there are a lot of scams out there. And so I kind of had this voice in the back of my mind, which kind of kept me comfortable, staying away from risk, away from change. But then every single time that I did make that investment and I drew the line in the sand and I actually took that leap of faith, I made it work. Like I just made it work. And just because the information is out there, because we live in an information world, you search up how to get 6-pack abs, thousands of videos will pop up. It doesn't mean that you'll actually use it, because I currently talk to a lot of people every single day, and most of them know how to lose 30 pounds, 40 pounds, 50 pounds. You can just simply Google it. You're a simple Google search away, and then boom, you'll be bombarded with all the information in the world. Yet 75% of Americans are obese and overweight. So it's clearly not the information that we're lacking. It's the accountability, actually doing it, because there's a big difference between knowing what to do versus actually doing it. And so what I personally needed for me to grow my own business was that accountability, someone to push me beyond what I could do myself. Now, this isn't just about fitness. This applies to everything in life. The 3 main pillars are health, wealth, and relationships. And so right now, if you are not happy with your current health, if you are out of shape, if you're overweight, invest into a coach. If right now you're struggling financially, you're not making as much money or as much income as you want, invest into a coach. If your relationships suck, if you want to start dating more, if you want to find your partner, if you want to do whatever when it comes to your relationships, invest into a coach. Every single thing that I've personally wanted to level up in life, I invested into myself, into mentorships, and I have seen tremendous results from that. Because had I not invested into my first ever mentor, my second mentor, my third mentor, all these other mentors to help me grow my business, to help me get healthier, to help me with my relationships, I would still be stuck. I don't even know where I'd be, to be honest. I'd probably be going back to school, back to studying economics, something that I personally was not happy with because I did not want to do that. I knew there was something else out there for me. I knew, because I was so passionate about fitness, about helping other people, that I knew that I was made for something more. And the only reason that I can say and make this video now talking to you guys, sharing my story, is because I took that leap of faith, I invested into myself, and I made it work for myself. And so the only way you'll stay stuck is by doing absolutely nothing. And if you're not happy with your current life right now, I encourage you, hopefully you can use my story and take that leap of faith and make that investment, whether it's into your health, wealth, or your relationships, because you'll either learn something or you'll grow, and both are absolutely worth it.